As a bonus segment here, we're going to be talking about the draft. Restart. I'm just going to restart the intro. What's up, guys? The Moneyline Makers here, giving you a little bonus segment. Now we're going to be talking about the NFL draft winners and losers. So we'll start it off. Money Man, who do you got as the NFL draft winners?
The NFL draft winners. Now, I'm a little biased here because I'm a Dolphins fan, but I think overall the Dolphins had a great draft as a whole. I was a little questionable about their first round. I thought they reached a little bit, but positional value. I love the picks overall for like a positional wise, especially with the Chris Johnson pick. A lot of people were saying that the Bills were about to pick up Chris Johnson at pick 28. We traded up to 27, took him from the Bills. They had to trade back because they didn't know who they wanted to pick. And then, funny enough, I think it was either the Jets or the Patriots traded up in front of them again and took the wide receiver they're about to pick. Now, I was not the happiest about the Dolphins taking Caden Proctor at pick 12. I love the move back from pick 11 to pick 12 to pick up the extra fifth-round picks, the 2 fifth-round picks that we got. But I just thought that they passed up on two great talents between Caleb Downs and Ruben Bain Jr. And then especially to see Ruben Bain Jr. drop to pick 15 to go to Tampa Bay. I think he's going to be a force to reckon with. Very upset we didn't take him. But I know in a rebuild, you got to start with the O-line. I talk about this all the time. If you don't fix the O-line, I don't care who you have at quarterback. I don't care who you have at wide receiver. It's not going to matter if you don't fix that O-line. And we have Devon Achane, one of the best running backs in the entire league. That's another great piece to build around. I have high hopes for Malik Willis. So overall, taking Caden Proctor, the left tackle from Alabama, moving him to left guard really beefs up that left side of our O-line. So I'm pretty happy about that. I thought we had some great picks going into the second, third, fourth, fifth round. So overall, as a whole, I think the Dolphins drafted pretty well. I would give them a B plus to an A minus draft grade.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. I would say they're definitely one of my winners as well. However, I'm not as high in the first round as you. I'd give the first round about a C. For me, the reason why they're a draft winner for me would be more of the second and later rounds. I think honestly, the steal of the draft was Jacob Rodriguez. I think you guys got him at 43. For
Mhm.
me, he was a top five defensive player coming into the draft. I think he was actually the best pure linebacker prospect outside of Sonny Styles. I would count Arvell Reese as more of a hybrid edge and linebacker, so he's not included in that. But outside of Sonny Styles, I think Jacob Rodriguez, second best linebacker in the draft. He was a Heisman finalist. I think he forced 7 fumbles last year. Great tackler, great in pass coverage, great at turning the ball over as well. And another great pick I think you guys had was Kelvin Coleman out of Mizzou in the later rounds. I think he's a good late round receiver. I think that was a good pick as well. But I would say my NFL draft winner to me personally, I know you brought up the Bucks. They did great defensively in the draft as well. But my NFL draft winner would be the New York Jets. Now, I know that's surprising. They did have 3 first-round picks, though, and I think they did very good on their picks. First up, they got the edge, David Bailey. I think he's a great pass rusher. I don't think he's really going to translate much into the run game. He's not really a great run defender, but, I mean, he led the country in sacks last year. He's a proven pass rusher. He has the full bag, the swim move, the bull rush, the spin move. He's got it all.
I
Another great
honestly, I honestly like that pickup a little bit more than the Ohio State edge rusher. I'm
and
drawing.
Arvell Reese. And if they would have
Yeah.
went Arvell. Me personally, I think I would have liked Arvell Reese a little bit more, but they got 3 good players in the first round. They also got Kenyon Sadiq, the best tight end in the draft. A lot of people are really saying he's not really a good run blocker, but I think he's an exceptional run blocker. He's exceptional after the catch, a good receiving threat. I think
Now,
him,
I honestly, in my opinion, I thought that was a great pickup for the sole
yeah,
fact that they have Mason Taylor that they picked
yeah,
up last year. That was an all-around, just great tight end as a whole. He's a prospect you look for, great blocker. He can catch the ball, and then getting a more versatile tight end in Kenyon Sadiq. I thought it wasn't a bad pickup by any means. I think they just went best available there. And
yeah.
then when you're in a rebuild situation, just like the Dolphins, I think that's what you need to do. You just need to go positional value. And I thought they had a great draft last year as well. and next year they have another 3 draft picks. So I think in the next coming years, the Jets, if everything goes well, they could be a very scary team.
Yeah, I believe they have 3 first-round picks next year as well. Also another big move for me was moving back into the first round ahead of the Bills and taking the wide receiver out of Indiana. I think he's a great player. I think he's great after the catch. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Stephon Diggs 2.0, though. A lot better after the catch, in my opinion. He's a great player. And if you really look at the roster now, they're going to be great in the run game. They have a good offensive line, good running back, Breece Hall. And they have a good 12 personnel set with those 2 tight ends, Kenny Sadiq, Mason Taylor as well. And then you got Omar Cooper Jr. at wide receiver 2. Got Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1. And then Adonai Mitchell as your wide receiver 3. He's a great wide receiver 3, in my opinion. He has a lot of potential to grow. I think that's a good starting core. Next year, you bring in your quarterback. Obviously, I don't think Geno Smith's going to be the quarterback of the future for them, but I think they're building that offense pretty well. They got a good offensive line. And then I also like their second-round pickup as well. D'Angelo Pons, I think he was at pick 40. I think he's a great player as well. The thing about D'Angelo Pons is if he wasn't 5'9", I think he would be a top 10 player in this draft class. He's a great corner out of Indiana, very well. A lot of people are saying he might move inside to nickel, but I could still see him being an outside corner. I really like what the Jets did in this draft.
Definitely. Another thing that I have to give them props on, even though, like I said, I do not like the Jets, but them trading back into the first and taking that wide receiver, because a lot of people were saying that the Bills were going to take that receiver. So taking him away from a divisional rival like that is very, very smart. Like I said, I didn't like where the Dolphins took Chris Johnson. But in the same token, if you have him circled across every one of your draft boards and you know your divisional rival is also going after that guy, it's a no-brainer to trade up and take him.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk about the Rams a little bit, that Ty Simpson selection. I'll give my take first on this one. To me, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I was shocked that they picked Ty Simpson. I thought they were going to either go the guard that the Ravens ended up picking up out of Penn State. I could have seen Mekhi Lemon. I could have seen even Ruben Bain fell right in their hands. They didn't take him. I could have seen them taking Kenny and Sadiq, and just really they were in a position, the Rams, where they didn't have to reach on anybody. They already have a great roster. They don't really have any positional needs. To me, it was like a lottery pick. You could really pick whoever you want. Just make your team better. However, I don't think they got better this year out of that pick of Ty Simpson. But I will say this: during college football last season, I was very high on Ty Simpson for some reason. Everyone was saying Mendoza's number 1 prospect. I was sitting there saying Ty Simpson was the number 1 QB prospect until the college football playoffs, and then I switched my take to Mendoza. But I think Ty Simpson's a good, solid quarterback. He definitely learned a lot from Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. However, I don't really agree with the pick there. I think you're all in right now. You have an MVP quarterback. Your quarterback just won MVP last year. He's getting old. You got a young core. You're going to have to start paying people. I think you should have just went all in now, in my opinion. What are your takes?
I completely agree. I think they're in win now mode, especially trading for Watson, the corner from Kansas City.
Trent McDuffie, you mean?
Yeah, Trent McDuffie, my bad. I think they're in win now mode, and I completely agree where they were sitting at. You have a lottery pick. You just take best available. And with Ruben Bain Jr., I'm very, very high on him. Of course, I'm a Hurricanes fan as well. But he has a lot of attributes that are not coachable with how low he can get to the ground. Yes, his arms may be short, but funny enough, they had Aaron Darnold. They could have gotten their very next Aaron Darnold. Now, I'm not saying Ruben Bain Jr. is going to be the next Aaron Darnold, but there was a lot of concerns around Aaron Darnold that Ruben Bain Jr. were getting the same concerns with having tiny arms, and he fell right in their lap. And with them being in win now mode, it was a no-brainer. And to take Ty Simpson, I just don't agree with the pick.
Yeah. I would say another NFL draft winner for me personally, you might not agree with this one here, but it would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, at the 6th, they traded up the 6th overall pick to get Mansour Lane. When I saw them trading up, I'm like, oh, they're getting Caleb Downs. They're getting Caleb Downs. Like, that's who they're picking. That's who they're picking. They didn't go with Caleb Downs, but they went with the best corner in the draft outside of Jermod McCoy, who we don't really know what's going on with him and his knee. There's talks that he might have to get a season-ending surgery again, and that if it goes wrong, he might not even be able to play the sport of football again. So They
which is
did
very
end up getting, yeah, I know me and you both, we wanted both of our teams to draft him in the second and third round, and we were kind of crashing out a little bit that they wouldn't take the
Yeah.
shot on him, especially your team having the
I
three
just
third
think
round
in a
picks.
situation like that, even given the injury, like when you're in a position like the Miami Dolphins, you're in a rebuild. You just once again you take best available. You take that chance on him, especially with us having 3 third-round picks. I just believe we should have taken a chance on him. And
Yep.
funny enough, we ended up taking a chance on the wide receiver out of Louisville, Bell. Everyone had him being a
Oh,
first.
he's great.
Yeah, everyone had him being a first-round pick, and I think he's a phenomenal receiver. Getting comparisons to A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel, I'm very excited to see him, but he just came off of an ACL tear. So I believe we should have also just taken the risk on Jamal McCoy because that could have potentially been 2 first-round corners that we picked up on our team. And then also getting Bell, the positional value is all over the board. So I definitely wish my team picked him up. But touching back on the Chiefs, I honestly thought they were going to go corner. I was a little surprised that they traded up, but it kind of made sense.
Yeah, I know they wanted to jump the Saints. They thought the Saints might have Mansour Lane on their board for their first selection at 8.
Definitely. And then not just the Saints as well, but
The
the
Commanders.
Bengals. The Bengals were also looking at corner too. So I wasn't surprised with them going Mansour, but I was a little surprised with the trade up. But once again, it makes sense. If you're very high on a player and another team has them circled as well, it's almost a no-brainer, especially with them trading their corner one away as well. Just kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, the reason for me that a lot of the draft NFL draft winners isn't just a Mansour Lane pick. I think he's going to be a great corner, a lockdown corner. For me, it's really 29th overall pick, Peter Woods. A lot of people had him on his boards as a top 5, top 10 prospect going into the college football season last year. However, that entire Clemson program just fell apart in 2025, and he didn't have his best showing, but he definitely has a lot of potential to be a standout defensive tackle right next to Chris Jones. We learn a lot from him as well. And then in that second round, they got a great pass rusher, R. Mason Thomas, great speed rushing pass rusher. I think he's going to be a difference maker on that team alongside of George Karlaftis on the other side of him. And you got Peter Woods and Chris Jones. It's going to be a nasty front four there. And you got Mansour Lane being cornerback 1. To me, I got them being as the winners of my draft. Now, let me ask you this. Who was your biggest sleeper draft pick in this draft? I'll go first. I think a great pick by the Buffalo Bills was Skylar Bell out of UConn. That's my sleeper pick of this year. What about you?
I'm going to be a little biased again here. But
Jacob Rodriguez has a case too for the Dolphins.
Jacob Rodriguez, or I believe with how bad the Miami Dolphins receiving core is, Bell. I think he could. Chris Bell. I think he could be a sleeper, especially with a lot of people saying he was going to go in the first round. A lot of Hurricanes fans should know his name, especially with him being on the Dolphins now, because he absolutely torched the Hurricanes in one of our only losses last season. He went off against us. So if you're a Hurricanes fan, you don't know his name, very surprising, but now everybody should know his name because if you're a Hurricanes fan, more than likely you're a Dolphins fan, and we picked him up in the draft. So.
All right, now let me ask you this. Who is your NFL draft losers? Don't say the one team. Go ahead.
You said don't say what?
Don't say the one team.
Oh, I would have to say the Rams. Once again,
the Rams?
We already talked about it, but they're in win now mode. You had Ruben Bain Jr. at your fingertips. I always understand looking at the future because realistically, how many more years does Matt Stafford have in him? Maybe 1, maybe 2 more years, maybe 3. So, I mean, I understand you pick up Ty Simpson, let him learn behind a great. But I don't know with him picking him up that early. But, I mean, once again, a lot of people had the Cardinals taking Ty Simpson. So you just take him from a divisional rival and you go from there. But they're in win now mode. and next year's draft class is absolutely loaded. They could have had someone fall to them late in next year's draft, especially if, say, they win the Super Bowl and they're pick 32. They could have had someone fall to them, or they could trade up in the draft next year and get their quarterback for the future. So I just don't agree with that pick at all. And I think overall, as a draft whole, I don't think they drafted well. Another team that I don't think drafted well is the Arizona Cardinals. I love Jeremiah Love, but I just think that is the last pick that they should have picked up. Especially with some great alignment on the board and the running backs they already have on their roster. Now, I'm not saying the running backs that they have on their roster is anywhere near Jeremiah Love's talent.
Don't sleep on Trey Benson now.
Trey Benson, you also have Tyler Algier and James Conner. So I just don't agree with the Jeremiah Love pickup. So I have the Cardinals as one of my losers as well.
Yeah. Losers for me, I'm not going to get into it because my team had a terrible draft. I don't want to talk about it. I'm a Jaguars fan. I don't really agree with what we did. However, I do like the guard out of Oregon in the third round. But, yeah, my loser, Jaguars, absolute reach in the second and third round, multiple reaches. The defensive tackle out of Texas A&M, thought that was a reach. Anthony Hill was sitting right there. We lost Devin Lloyd. Anthony Hill sitting right there in the second round. We go with the tight end that I believe we could have got with one of our draft picks in the third round, maybe even a fourth round pick. On everyone's consensus board, he was not even a top 125 prospect, picked 956. However, there was a tight end run right after that, but I would have rather had Oscar Delp. Would have rather had Jack Hendries, in my personal opinion, but I guess we'll ride with the Texas A&M Aggie number 87. We'll ride with you, Nate, I guess. But one more thing I wanted to touch on this.
I would have loved for you guys to pick up that corner out of Tennessee.
Yeah, McCoy.
I would have loved for you guys to pick him up.
Yeah, I would have loved to
think that would have been
a swing on him in the third round. If you get him in the third round, if he doesn't play
it's
this
worth
season,
the risk.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have him for the next season. Imagine him and Travis Hunter next to each other.
That's why I would have loved the pick.
Flexible Travis Hunter, he can play more offense as well.
But with that pickup, that ultimately would have made Travis Hunter more flexible because he wouldn't have had to be the guy on defense. He could have been the number 2 option on the defense, and then he could have started solidifying himself on offense as well.
And I think he's our best receiver. I think he's our best receiver and corner, to be honest with you. And I think if you really look at the games he played, he had some phenomenal catches. He's great after the catch, making guys miss. I think he has a lot of potential at the receiver position, but we didn't really touch on corner too much this offseason, so I think he's going to play mainly corner and mix in a little bit at receiver. One more thing I wanted to talk about real quick is another draft winner that I forgot to mention. I think the Ravens had a phenomenal draft as well. I really like picking up that guard out of Penn State, the right guard. I think to be honest with you, I think he's the best lineman in the draft, but he's a guard. Obviously, tackles are a little bit more valuable. But for me, he was the most dominant offensive lineman in the draft. And if you really look back at the Ravens last year, their right guard might have been the worst lineman in the NFL that was a starter. Like, that guy was absolutely trash. He was bad. So that was a great pickup for me. And then in the later rounds, they got 2 good receivers, 2 big body receivers. Elijah Surratt out of Indiana, great receiver, great possession receiver. I think this might not make a lot of sense, but Isaiah Likely was the wide receiver or tight end too, but he also kind of played like that power slot position where you're kind of a hybrid of a receiver and tight end. I could see Elijah Surratt moving into that role, not being with his hand in the dirt, but being in that kind of power slot, kind of bigger receiver tight end mold in the slot. I also like the Jacoby Lane pickup as well on the outside. Good contested catch receiver. I think the Ravens did a phenomenal job in the draft.
Definitely, because I do agree. I don't think they should have moved off of Isaiah Likely. But I do like the guard pickup, but I do understand why tackles are a little bit more valuable in drafts because, once again, if you look at the Dolphins, picking up Caden Proctor, we did not need a left tackle. But what did we do? We moved him right to left guard because he's a big body. Beefing up the O-line, and the way I look at it is when in doubt, draft O-line. Beef up the O-line.
Yeah, I agree. One more thing I want to touch on 2 more things real quick. Oh, also I forgot to mention for the Ravens, Zion Young, great pickup. They're going to have a great front 7. He's a great run-stopping edge as well. Pair him up on the opposite side of Trey Hendrickson, who's a great pass rusher, not really the best run defender. Then you got Mike Green coming in the rotation as well. You got the defensive tackle coming back. He's going to be healthy as well this year. They're going to be a scary team. Roquan Smith in that front seven as well at linebacker. But one thing I want to touch on for you, I'm a Jags fan. You're a Dolphins fan. We already touched on the Dolphins and the Jets, your division rival. Now let's touch on the Titans a little bit. They had 2 first-round selections with Carnell Tate at 4 and Keldrick Folk at 31. Now, what do you think about those picks?
I honestly like the direction that the Titans are heading in. I think that the head coach pickup that they got in Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh. I thought that was a great pickup for them. And I also love the offensive coordinator they got in Brian Dable. I think he's really going to work well with Cam Ward. I love them getting a wide receiver 1 in Carnell Tate. Do I think that he has the potential to be a wide receiver 1? I think only time will tell. Some great receivers have came out of big programs. Like, look at Justin Jefferson. He was the wide receiver 2 behind Jamar Chase. He ended up being one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. So, exactly. Ibuka and JSN was not the number 1 option in his offense as well. But I think the whole NFL as a whole is changing when it comes to the wide receiver position. So I think a lot of people are not giving Carnell Tate the credit that he deserves. So I think he will end up being pretty good in the NFL. But once again, only time will tell with that. But I do like where the Titans are heading.
All right. Now I'll speak on the Titans a little bit. I hate that they picked up Carnell Tate at 4. The number 1 thing I didn't want to happen as a Jags fan, because I think Cam Ward is going to be a very good quarterback in this league, is I did not want him to get an elite receiver. I think Carnell Tate has the potential to be an elite receiver. I do think Jordan Tyson is the better receiver in this class. However, injury concerns probably scare them away from picking him. So I was a little bit more happy that they picked Carnell Tate, but I don't like that. I don't like Cam Ward getting an elite number 1 receiver, but they made up for it with that 31st overall pick. Keldrick Folk, I think he's buns. I think he's the bust of the draft. I think he's the worst pick in the first round outside of Ty Simpson. I just don't see him translating much into a pass rushing aspect. He's a good run defender, but I don't see him making an impact as a pass rusher.
I do agree. I think there was other positions that they could have touched on. But like I said, I do agree with your Tyson take. I think Tyson will be the best wide receiver coming out of this class. Unless another wide receiver surprises us. I'm very hopeful with Bell. I would love to see it. But I think Tyson will be the best receiver coming out of this class. I think this was a wide receiver heavy class. So we'll see.
All right. Last question here, and then we'll wrap everything up. After the NFL draft here, I know we still have a little bit of the summer. There could be some trades and everything. Maybe some players get injured during training camp, but what's your early lean for your Super Bowl prediction?
Man, I was heavy on the Rams. But I just did not like that Ty Simpson pickup. But ultimately, I don't think they skipped a beat. They picked up some great people on defense. Once again, picking up that corner from Kansas City.
All they were missing, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm having such a brain fart today. But I think that the Rams are a very well-rounded team. I think the only 2 teams – I want to touch back on this as well. I think the 49ers had a great draft as well. Once everyone comes back healthy, I think there'll be a problem in the NFC as well. But I think that division comes out on top one more time. You can't hold the Seahawks out. The Rams look amazing, and the 49ers just have to get healthy. So my early prediction is whoever makes it out that division.
So what about AFC? Who you got the AFC?
AFC, my early prediction is going to have to be the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, man, we pretty much have the same take. I got Ravens, Rams, Super Bowl. Probably Rams winning it. That's my early lean there. I really like what the Ravens did this offseason.
Definitely.
And the Rams, all they were missing was the second half or the secondary. And I mean, we saw what happened in that NFC Championship game. Sam Darnold lit up that secondary. Now they got a good lockdown corner, playing the nickel, playing the slot. hopefully counteract a little bit of JSN. I think they're going to be a scary team. However, I would have liked them to take something else other than Ty Simpson to really solidify that chance. But I still
Ruben
got
Bain
even though
Jr. would have solidified them being my Super Bowl favorite. That would have solidified it.
yeah.
But once again, I just don't want to count the Seahawks out. They just came off winning the Super Bowl. I don't like them getting rid of Kenneth Walker just to ultimately pick up the backup running back from Notre Dame. Don't get me wrong, he played great, but I just think Kenneth Walker,
Yeah, you
he
got
just won
Charbonnet off
MVP.
the ACO. They lost Boy Mafe, Kobe Durant, safety.
They
Lost
did
some
lose
key pieces, but
quite
they
a
kept the majority of their core. They paid JSN this offseason too. So gonna be a
Yeah.
scary thing to look out for sure. But I got the Rams and the Ravens. That's my
yeah,
take.
but it's very
May
hard to hold
4th.
Mac
May
Jones
4th. We
back
come with the
this
early
year.
lean.
Mhm.
All right.
All right.
You got
Thank
anything
you for
else?
tuning in. I think that's it.
All right. We'll wrap it up then.
All right. Well, this has been Moneyline Makers. We'll catch you on the next one.
Peace, boys.